Hello everyone. Today we are going to talk about two books, and they're both by the same author. They're both by Robert G. Allen, and if you haven't heard of Robert Allen and you're thinking about real estate investing, at some point in your real estate investing career you will hear this name, I have no doubt. At the beginning of my real estate investing career, I stumbled across one of Robert Allen's books called Nothing Down. It was actually Nothing Down, the original one that was written in the 80s, not this updated one for the 90s. And it really kind of got me kicked off, and it's probably one of his most famous books. And it took me a little while to realize that the concepts in the books are great. You know, he talks about finding properties, funding properties, and then flipping properties for cash. And you know, it's really good, and education always helps, but one thing that kind of held me back with this particular book was he talks a lot about buying properties with nothing down, funny enough, with the title Nothing Down. And at the time when I was trying to implement his strategies, it was late 1990s, early 2000s, interest rates were so low that every time I would try to write a nothing down offer, the seller would ultimately come back to me and say, hey, you know what, why would I hold back a second mortgage or a vendor take back or a seller take back on the property I'm selling you when you're going to offer me 6, 7, 8% interest? I'd rather just sell it and get all my cash. And it took me years to realize that I was trying to implement strategies that were written in 1980 when, or in the 80s, when interest rates were like 16, 17%, or at least in the teens. And I was trying to implement them at a time when the strategy didn't make sense because interest rates were so low. You know, it didn't click for me. It took a little while, but that was a big aha moment. I was taking a strategy that worked in one market and I was trying to apply it to a different market. Now there might be a time for this, again, where it's a lot easier to write nothing down deals than it is today, and it's still possible to do today, and I'm sure some of you out there are doing it. It's just a little bit harder than it once was when the time is perfect for writing offers with seller take-back mortgages, and that's usually when people can't sell their homes because interest rates are so high, so they're willing to take back a seller take-back or a vendor take-back on their property to sell you the home, and then you have the ability to try and buy that home with nothing down or very little down out of your pocket. And but overall, good book, and I think it's the book he's most known for. And funny enough, in the book, like all these different real estate investing books, there's like a goal setting area, and I found an area of mine on page 57, and I have written down here that I want to teach others how to do real estate investing, teach kids the principles of wealth, write a book, travel the world with my family, and increase my support for worthwhile charities. So it's kind of nice looking back on that. It reminds you of kind of how you started and the frame of mind you were in when you were starting. So good book, but he has a much better book. So he's best known for this book. By the way, I went on with him. I think I spent about $5,000. I got a big box of tapes from him, and this is at a time when like CD players were starting to become in all cars. And I had to listen to these $5,000 worth of tapes that I had bought from him, like a big box, 5,000 bucks, shipped up from the US. And I bought a ghetto blaster. I put it in the front seat of my car, and I put the tapes in the ghetto blaster to listen in my car, because my car only had a CD player. It didn't have a tape player because, you know, they weren't putting tape players in cars at that time anymore. And you know, so I was running around, all my friends thought it was ludicrous. Here I am driving around in my car listening to tapes in a ghetto blaster. And these tapes, I had spent $5,000 on this box of tapes. But we all have our own journey, right? Okay, there's another book from Robert Allen. I think he's a lot less known for this book, but it is a much better book. So it's Robert G. Allen, and the book is Creating Wealth. I think you can still get it off Amazon.com or Amazon.ca. Creating Wealth. This is actually a really, really good book, Creating Wealth. And one of the best things about this book that I like is he's got a really simple investing strategy, and it's worth checking out. And I think we're all asked, everyone's trying to figure out what their own personal investing strategy is. He lays one out, I think, here that's really good, and it's this, that over a course of 10 years, you buy one property a year for 10 years. And then at the end of 10 years, you start selling some of your properties. So at the end of 10 years, you've purchased or acquired 10 properties. And then at the end of 10 years, you sell your first 5 properties, so that the equity that's built up in some of your properties. You sell the 5 properties. It might be the first 5, it might not be, but you sell 5 of them. And the equity that you have in those properties, you take and you put it towards the other 5 properties. So you've taken the equity buildup in 5 of your properties, you sell them, you take the equity out, you put it towards the mortgage of the other properties, taking their mortgage right down or even possibly eliminating them, and then you live off the income of the other 5 properties. And I think, to this day, I think that is one of the simplest investing strategies. Buy 1 property a year for 10 years. At the end of 10 years, sell 5 of them, take the equity out, put it towards the other 5. You know, it's a nice steady way to build wealth. Very simple. There's a whole bunch of other strategies, obviously, and I'm sure you know a lot more than that, a lot of different ones as well. But that, to this day, seems to be the simplest one for people to grasp, simplest one for us to grasp as well, and the one I encourage everybody to at least consider. So if you've heard of Robert Allen, kind of written him off, this book is good, it's worth checking out. I think he might even have an updated one for the 2000s, I'm not sure. But Robert G. Allen, Creating Wealth, this is a worthwhile read. It's a little bit old now, but the concepts in here and the principles still apply. So that's it for today. Hope you found that useful. We'll talk to you soon.